So I have this text block set up, and if I drag it out here, there's no columns or anything set in it. So I'm going to add some columns to this to sort of match the column structure I have on the page. And it's really kind of flexible at this point. If I wanted, like I said, maybe I just want my text to follow two of these columns, I could drag the edge of that text block in and make my text just fill two columns, and I've got this third column to use for imagery, call outs, whatever I want to do, But, so I could do that. I'm going to leave it 3 columns though, and I'm actually going to set up, give my text area 3 columns. So with this text area selected, if I right click on it and go to text frame options, which is Command B on my keyboard, I can also go under my type menu, text frame options. I never use the menus to do most of this stuff, so I forget where they're at. Text frame options. Oh, under text frame options are also under the object menu, about halfway down. They're in that menu as well. So I always right click with my mouse or control click or Command B on my keyboard will do it. So I've got that text area selected, Command B, and it gives me a bunch of options here. So we're going to look at this 2 different ways just so we can kind of explore these options. So I'm going to start by, like I said, I want my text to follow 3 columns. So I'm going to change my this number of columns setting here from 1 to 3. And then I'm going to leave the gutter by the default, which is what I did when I set up the page guides. I used the gutter default. So by doing that, you can see my text area now lines up with the grid structure that's on my page. So I've got 3, if I shorten this text area up, if I go down here and I grab, or actually let's say okay, if I grab this and pull it up halfway, it's going to run to all 3 columns of text. So we're just going to pull that to the bottom, and I'm going to go back into those text frame options and see what else we've got. So I've got a fixed number of columns. I've got 3 with the gutter. Inset spacing, which we'll look at here in just a moment. I'm going to do something different with that. And our vertical justification, we can align it top, center, bottom, or I can justify it. So I'm going to leave it set to top. And then there's some other options in here. There's column rules, which allow me to set rules between my columns. So if I tap W on my keyboard, I can't do it while I got the dialog open. But you see, whenever I clicked on that checkbox, it put lines between my columns. If I'm going to put lines between my columns, I probably actually want a wider gutter, to be honest. That's pretty narrow. So I'm just going to turn that off, but just so you can see it. And you can adjust the start point of it and the end point of it, as well as the offset. So if I change the start point and the end point, it makes a narrower rule between those columns. So we'll just go back up to see what 0 goes us. There. So 0 brings us back to the full height. I'm just going to turn that off. I don't want those right now, but just to kind of show them to you. There's, different settings for those columns. So auto sizing is off. height only, width only, some different things. You got to kind of play around with, see what they do. But I generally don't have a reason to go into most of these. So I'm just going to stick with the general tab. And we've got all of our text on. This is going to flow to 3 columns within this page. So I've got that. I'll say OK. And so I'm going to create I could have created the same structure too. If I always want this to go to 2 columns, always just to be 2 columns. See, if I adjust this now, it's going to break they're going to be narrower columns, but it doesn't follow my page grid. So we'll just leave those out there. And I'm going to create another text block that I'm just going to place, click and draw. Actually, I'll click over here and draw it out and then drag it over. I'm going to place this right inside of this column. So we'll do that. And I'm just going to pull a little bit of copy out of this text just to sort of show what it is I'm doing here. So I'll grab like that much text, copy it, come back over to this text area and paste it in there. And I'm not going to keep this, but I did this to show you that I can give this, let's say this is a pull quote. Maybe I want these call outs to be inside of a gray box. So I can go ahead and go to my swatches panel, and I'm going to fill the box with, I'll fill it with yellow, something bright, makes it easy to see. And then sort of zoom in on this. For something like this, I generally would want to have a margin around it and that kind of thing. So to have some, we've got margin around our page, we should have margin around this pull quote too. So if I right click on this text box and go back to my text frame options, I'm going to do a couple other things here. So inset spacing will inset where the text starts inside of my text box. So if I start adjusting this, you'll see that I can inset the text. I'll go 3/8 or so. And then, so that gives me a nice margin for that text. And this vertical justification, maybe I don't want it to be at the top. I could put it in the middle. Or I could even justify it top to bottom so that it takes up, so that it kind of matches the margins and has a little bit of style to it. So I kind of wanted to do that just to sort of give you a sense of, we can inset text within the text area and keep it consistent, again, throughout our layout. So I'm going to leave it justified, and like I said, it's about, it's not even quite 3/8 margin, but that creates kind of a nice little text area. Say OK. That's selected. I'm going to go back to my character panel and maybe increase the point size of that text, because 12 points is kind of small for it. Like I said, I want it to be a little bit of a call out. So I can pull that text out that way. Anything there you want to see again before I move on? Yeah. So how did I do, how do I do that? Okay. So I'll pull this over here and we'll do it again. So I just drew a text box out.
I have like the text box, I just don't have like where you're like changing the size of like the font and stuff. I don't have.
Oh. So, okay, so you got the text box and everything. So if I go into, I did this through the text frame options. So if I right click on the box, go to text frame options. The way I adjusted the point size, let me back up. I adjusted the point size through my character panel. So that's how I increased the point size. But I gave it the margins by going into this text frame options dialog and changing the inset spacing to give that wider margin. And I automatically justified it top to bottom by going under vertical justification, the alignment, and I set it to justify.
What windows do you think you have the like special characters panel on the right?
Say it again.
What like window, what view do you need to have like the special characters panel on the right side?
Sorry, I still couldn't hear you.
On the right side of the menu pull down that you have,
Yeah.
mine, I have like the swatches, but I don't have the paragraph or the character specialization options.
Oh, over here on the side? Got it. Hold on a minute. If you don't have those, so I'm using the Essentials Classic layout, but you can get those by going to the window menu, down to type and tables, character, and there's paragraph.
Thank you.
And I think by default that has it, so. Sorry, sometimes the ceilings in here make it hard for me to hear, so. Center my type. But anyway, we can create, multiple text blocks and treat the text a little differently between all of them. Once I'm out of all those dialogues, if I tap W on my keyboard, it kind of gives me more of a preview without all the lines floating around. So I've also got within my text, there's other, I can do type on a path, that type of thing. It works like Illustrators does. A variety of different things here, but so that's kind of setting text into a text area. And, we can make, like I said, we can change these any number of ways that we want to. So, so I've got this letter from the CEO, and I kind of did this little pull out, which I'm just going to pull down here to the bottom. So let's look at formatting of text. So within our I'll back up here a minute. So a lot of the things that I just did here through that text area options can also be done up here from this control bar. There's some icons up here that'll allow me to do a lot of similar things. So I could adjust the alignment of that text using these control items. Again, I'm in the Essentials Classic workspace. If you're in a different workspace, you may or may not have those there. And then, so let's go to this text block. So our body copy, one of InDesign's strengths is its ability to style text, and you set presets to make it consistent through your document. And Illustrator has this as well, but they're not as robust as InDesign's tools are. So I had I picked a typeface, I think. Actually, I haven't really picked a typeface for this yet. I find it's easier to use the style sheets if I already have an idea of the typefaces I want to use and sort of generally set up a layout. So I'm just going to select all of this copy except for my headline text here, this top line. Select all that, and I want to pick a typeface for it. So I'm going to go to my character panel and pick a different typeface. Minion is kind of the default. You should pick something different. I am going to use, what am I going to use? I want to use, I'll use Century Gothic. You can pick anything else you want to pick, but I'm going to use Century Gothic, which is a nice typeface because it has a very large X height, which is the height of the lowercase letters. Makes it extremely readable, especially at smaller sizes. And with all of that text selected, I'm going to drop the point size to like maybe 10 points. And I'm going to change the leading on it to 14, 16 maybe. Let's go 16. Give it some space. So I'm starting to style my text. One of the other things that's good to do is between each of these paragraphs, a little bit of extra spacing between the paragraphs would be worthwhile as well. So if I go to my paragraph panel, open it up, there are a bunch of different spacing options here right below all of my alignment options. My alignment options are at the top, and I've got spacing options here below. And I'm just going to look at, I can increase the spacing to the right, to the left, and the top and the bottom. So I'm just going to, I want to put a little more space after each paragraph. So I'm going to come down here to this last spacing option right here. And I'm just going to use the little arrows next to it to increase the space between my paragraphs. So I've got 9-point type on about 14 points of leading, and then I put about 1/8 of an inch of space between them. This is generally one of those times when I might actually jump back and forth between measurements, but we'll just keep working in inches for the moment. So about 1/8 of an inch. And then the last thing I'm going to do is I just remembered this little bit of copy down here at the very end. It's kind of separated from everything else. There's actually a copy I should probably put in my call out. So if I cut that out of there, I won't come over here and into this block and paste that text for now, just to get it out of the way. now that I've got this text set, I think that's fairly reasonable. That's at least a good starting spot for the point size of my text. So I'm just going to select a little bit of it. I can select it all or just a paragraph, maybe. And I'm going to create a style sheet out of that text. So I selected a paragraph of it, and I don't have it up. So if I go to my window menu, go down to type in, go down to styles is the menu item. I've got character styles. I've got a bunch of different style options here, but I'm going to select the paragraph styles, which is going to give me another pop-up. And I want to create a style sheet out of this. So I'm just going, with that selected, I'm going to go to the very bottom of this paragraph styles panel and click on the plus sign. And it's going to add a new paragraph style in here. It'll say paragraph style 1. And if I open paragraph style 1, if I click out here to the side in the blue area, when I'm hovering over it, it'll open up a dialog. And there are a boatload of options for this. But we're not going to ignore most of them for right now, because since I formatted this first and then I selected the paragraph, when I created that style sheet, which I'm going to name body copy, give it a name everything, it's picking up the styles that I already applied to it. So I don't have to go back and redo all those. If I take a look at my basic character formats, you see Century Gothic, 10 points on 16 points of leading. It's all the settings I gave it. So it basically uses those as a preset. And I'm just going to say OK. And I've got my first style sheet, my body copy. And I'm just going to select all of this text and apply that body copy style to it. All I got to do, if I've got it selected, all I've got to do is click on it. That's it. And throughout my book, I can use this as my body copy styling for the other text that I put in. So that's our first style sheet. If I want to make a change to it, all I do is I open it back up. Let's say I've decided that the point size is really just a little bit too small. I can go into my basic character formats, change the point size to 11. I want to turn on my little preview checkbox here so I can see, and it'll enlarge it in real time. Any text in my document that I've got this style sheet applied to will get this change whenever I do it. So I'm going to drop it back down to 10. Say OK. So there's that style sheet. Any questions about that before I move on? Yeah. How to do the style sheet? Yeah. So it's easiest to just, and I'll just delete this style sheet. It's easiest to select the text that you've, oh, I really didn't want to do that. Hold on. I had formatted everything. Select a paragraph of it. At the bottom of this paragraph styles panel, do you have that up? The paragraph styles panel? Okay. At the very bottom, there's this little plus sign. You can just click on that little plus sign. You can also go through, there's got a little hamburger menu in the corner. You can click on that and you can create a new paragraph style as well. So I just use the little plus sign is the most convenient. Create that, and it'll create that style sheet for you. And then I just open it up. This will be body copy 2, but it's already applied the styles of the text that you had selected, which is why I styled it first to see what I was going to get, see what I wanted, and then I created a style out of it. So, okay. So I can do the same thing with my headline. So if I select my letter from the CEO headline, and maybe this is, let's see, I'm using a very round Century Gothic typeface. Maybe I change make my headline, we'll use Century Gothic for it as well. We'll just do a bold. So I'm going to select that text, go to my character panel, click in the character area. If I just type the name of the typeface, Century, it'll filter it. And I'm going to do Century Gothic bold for that. And I'm going to make that point size 48. Or maybe 36. Let's go 36 points. So I've got that style set. And I'm going to go ahead and create a style sheet for that text as well. So I'm just going to select that text, go back over here to my paragraph styles panel. Paragraph styles. Click the plus sign in the bottom of the panel. Gives me another paragraph style. I'll just open it up. And this will be headline 1. It's got all my stylings applied to it. I'm going to go ahead and make a change though to it before I go too far. And always making sure I've got this preview checkbox checked. I'm going to go down here to indents and spacing. Remember we did this before with our body copy through the paragraph panel. I can do it through the style panel as well. Indents and spacing, I'm going to change the space after the headline to match the space after my paragraphs. 1.125. And we'll leave the leading alone on it right now. I'm not sure if that's the way I'm going to want it or not, but for right now we'll leave it alone. So I got that. Say okay. If I pull back here, so I've got some styling set up for my document, or I've started setting some styling up. I should probably make my whole document kind of follow this. I chose Century Gothic for the text and the headline. I think I've got different typefaces for my page headers, but we're going to go with this for now. Any questions so far with the style sheets? See anything again? All right. So this is fine, and as long as I just want headlines to match a column, that'll work. But what if I want that headline to actually span across all the columns? That would be a reasonable thing to want, right? So, and this is another reason, this is kind of part of why I'm setting up style sheets too. So if I'm just going to select out here, I'm going to deselect everything. I just don't want to have anything selected. I'm going to go back here and I'm going to open up my headline style sheet. And if I go down the list of styles, the list of options here, this long freaking list, there's about little more than halfway down, there's one that says span columns. And if I open it, click on that, it says paragraph layout, and right now it's set to single column. If I change this to span columns, as soon as I did that, see what it did? It's now stretching across all of them. span columns, and by default, it goes to all, which is the way I'm going to leave it. I could make it only span two of the 3 columns if I wanted to, but I'm going to let it do all 3 columns. So basically, that's kind of how I can make my headlines span multiple columns and keep all of my text inside of one text area. So I've got all that. Everything else I'm going to leave alone. I'll just say OK. So now if I go ahead and if I change this, if I make this text area shallower now to where this text is going to run to 3 columns, my headline is going to stay across the very top and all of my text is going to start below it. If I tap W on my keyboard to look at the layout, space between my headline and my text is the same as the space between each of my paragraphs in my copy. The style sheets have a lot of other options. There's, I can put rules beneath my headlines, make the headlines indent a little bit. I mean, there's a number of things I can do. But just to focus strictly on the creation of style sheets for a moment, that's how we basically go about it. So here's why I do that. So let's go over here. So I've got my headline 1, my body copy, which is all of this text here. One thing to watch out for with style sheets, and this will happen more than once. If I have my cursor sitting in my headline and I come over here and it's like, I need to open up the spacing between my body copy a little bit, and I come over here and as soon as I click on this, it changes my headline to whatever style sheet I clicked on. All I've got to do is have a cursor sitting inside of a block of text and it'll change it. So if I've got my cursor sitting in the middle of my body copy and I decide I want to make a change to my headline, as soon as I click my headline, it changes my body copy. It's a little bit touchy that way. So you got to kind of watch out for that. But it's manageable. So I've set that text up. Let's go back to our text block here real quick, or our copy. And I'm going to let's scroll down here. Scroll down to the next page. So here's our page 4 copy. And I'm just going to select all of my page 4 copy. Copy it. And then I'm going to go back over to my InDesign document. And last time I put a photo on page 4, so I'm going to remove this photo because this needs to have copy in it. So on page 4 here, I'm going to draw another text area right over top of my grid. And I'm going to paste that text in there. Zoom in on it. paste that text in there, and I want to format this area as well to match the first page that I set text on. So I'm going to select my text area. I can either go through the object menu to text frame options, or I can do Command B on my keyboard, or I can right click on the text area and get text frame options. And I'm going to match 3 columns with that gutter. We'll say OK. And just make sure that all my body text has my body copy style sheet applied to it. So I'm going to select that, click on body copy, and then I'm going to click on my headline, or place my cursor in there. I can either select it all or place the cursor, and click headline 1, and that formats my headline for me. So once I've set up my style sheets, formatting the rest of my 72 pages or whatever the heck I have becomes a whole lot easier and a whole lot faster. If I don't set up style sheets and I need to make a change to copy, I've got to go through my document and make the change to all my copy. That's where you make mistakes. That's where, that's where you miss stuff. That's where you make mistakes. That's where inconsistency comes from inside of a document like this. So style sheets are here to help us keep it consistent and to make revisions easier and faster. This block of copy has its own challenges. It also has bullet points in it, which is another style sheet we need to set up. But it's 3 o'clock and I spent almost an hour on this. So I'm going to stop this right here. Any questions about this before I move on, though? I guess I really only spent about a half hour on it, but any questions? No? Okay. So we started setting up style sheets here, and that's what we're going to do through the rest of this document. So, and I'm going to delete this extra one that I've got. Bless you. So save that document as it is, or save a copy of it. You can always do that, save a version. And we will move on from that. I mean, so as far as the basics go, you think you can set up a document as well as place copy into it, images, and style some text, set up style sheets? I mean, that really is the core. Everything else just kind of builds off of those things for the most part. So why don't you do one other thing? Why don't you, so we've got copy in that document for pages 4 and for page 5. Why don't you go ahead and place the copy in for page 5 as well? I could, and if you've used InDesign before, I could actually put all of this text in at once and thread it through the document, but this particular document is clearly spelled out as to what goes on what page, so I find that it's a simpler process to go page by page on setting all this up. But we can thread text through an entire document from one text area to another. And it flows kind of like Microsoft Word will flow, flows text as well. So, but take the copy from page 5, go ahead and put it into page 5 and style it. Just apply the style sheets that you've already made. Paste it in, select it all. And did this have a headline with it? That's our global footprint, and this is our mission, our ESG approach is the headline for this. So I'll copy that. Paste it into my text area. And apply my headline to it. On the page of copy we just put in, this last line that's all the way here at the very end, that says including our global reporting initiative, that's actually call out text. So create a style sheet for that, style it just a little bit differently. To create your third style sheet. So when you're done with that, save your document, and we'll pick that up next week. All right. All right, so I had, so Owen, so text and Illustrator, just working with it in general?
Yeah, kind of like those weird layouts you can do, like how you can manipulate it and stuff more. It's kind of what I was looking for.
Okay. So, open up Illustrator. Actually, let me